Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Jackson Wheat, and I'm on today with Darren Christopher Lee, right?
Yes. Yes, I am Darren Christopher Lee.
Well, it is nice to meet you. Nice to have you on.
So nice to meet you too.
Uh, so so you want to talk about, you said on Twitter, talk about God, right?
Talk about God. Yeah,
So,
that's
I guess I'll let you lead.
you let
So,
me lead. Okay. Is
yeah,
that okay for both of us?
yeah, that's fine. You can
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, it's such an honor to be here. I'm so thrilled to be talking with Jackson. You say your name was?
Yes.
Should I call you Jack or Jackson or we or
Jackson's fine.
Jackson? Okay, so I met Jackson on Twitter. And are you an atheist?
Yes.
You are an atheist. Okay. So I'm a Christian from Indonesia. It's I'm so excited to be here because yeah, just looking at this guy on the other side of the world, 11 p.m. after work, and he's still sparing his time for a discussion like this. I can see why he's such a great guy. uh, okay, so um, Jackson, why is it that you don't believe in God?
Well, from a scientific perspective, it seems that religion is an evolved phenomenon. Although I tend not to think about religion as a whole, but it seems from an anthropological, cultural, sociological perspective that
Mm-hmm.
it's merely an evolved phenomenon to deal with, uh, or that was at one time developed to deal with some certain pressure, uh, and it has clearly evolved over history. The Christianity that people generally espouse today is not the one that was espoused by people
Mm-hmm.
2,000 years ago, or
I
no, I
see.
guess you could say 1,000 years ago. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Um, so it seems pretty clear that as culture evolves, so does religion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, that's a pretty good answer. So, do you think that a God can exist without
the
religion? And
audience is saying it's kind of hard to hear you.
oh, it's kind of hard to hear me. Hello.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you better.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Or should I just like take off my earphones? Let me try that.
Okay, you can try that.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It sounds like you're talking through a tube.
Okay.
I think it was better with the earbuds, but
With the earphones.
yeah, as long as the mic was a little bit closer,
So,
it's easy.
is it
Say again.
hello?
Okay, we can
Is
hear you.
this better? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, do you think it's possible for a God to exist without a religion having to exist alongside mankind?
Sure. Theoretically, sure.
Okay. As a theist, Indonesia is still unfamiliar with the word atheist, not because that it's unknown, but because most of us, like probably 80 until 90% of us, are all theists. We believe in God. We have five or six major religions: Christians, Muslims, Hinduism, uh, Buddha, Buddhism, and uh, a few other. Uh, can you tell us your arguments on your part why I should not be believing in a God, if that's okay for you?
Well, personally, I don't really care if you believe in God. I mean, if you do, you do. If
Mm-hmm.
not, then fine. I'm have friends who are atheists, agnostics, theists. On a day to day basis, I don't think about the God question. My
Mm-hmm.
passion is evolution, which has inherently nothing to
Oh,
do
I
with
see.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there are clear social benefits to being religious.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it provides it's a source of social cohesion. Uh,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
has various positive mental effects. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, I if you're perfectly comfortable with believing in God, I'm not going to try to take that away from you, and I don't think it's my place to take away from anyone.
I
I don't
see.
focus on that with my channel or anything I do.
I see. So you were saying that your passion is about evolution?
Yes, that's my I'm a biology major currently, and that's what I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
my degree in. So yes,
Wow, that's so cool. Ah,
it's
I see.
something sometimes.
Okay, so I'm 16 years old. How old are you exactly? If that's polite to ask.
21.
You're 21. Okay. Um, can you tell me something about the evolution?
What do you want to know?
Well, what I know is that uh, did the evolution begin when the first biological cells existed, or since the Big Bang happened?
No, the Big Bang long preceded evolution. The
13,
Yeah, the
something like
according
yeah.
to the what is this kind of consensus in
Mm-hmm.
cosmology, from what I understand, the universe
Yeah.
is about 13.8 billion years old, which is when you had the Big Bang, the expansion of
Oh yeah.
space and matter and all that. And then about 4.5 billion years ago, you have the formation of or you have the minimum formation of the Earth based on the
Mm-hmm.
thermodynamics and the astronomy and
Yes.
whatnot. And the origin of life occurred somewhere between 4 and 3.8 billion years ago, when you
Mm-hmm.
get uh, the oceans had formed from various sources, and you got your different independent chemical processes occurring in deep ocean vents, which
Yes.
theoretically drove the origin of life. So yeah,
Mm-hmm. Ah,
and
I see.
then evolution happened after life started.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so um, what happened actually in the Big Bang, as you learned? Do you study that, or do you not?
not really. I understand that the Big Bang is kind of a misnomer. It was an expansion of
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this,
it is.
but not really. I'm not familiar with the maths or the astronomy of it really, other than like,
Ah.
I understand, there's observed redshift
Mm-hmm.
and a few other very, very basic things, but no, I'm not familiar with it really.
Okay. So, do you think as humans really evolved from the apes or some organism before that?
Yeah, we're still apes to this very day.
We are still apes till this very day.
Yep.
Okay, so um, what exactly triggered this, uh, should I say creation? What's the best word for the existence of the first organisms?
Uh, what caused the first organisms?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not fully worked out, but there are a lot of different independent hypotheses for what
Yes.
potentially happened. There's the primary ones today focus on deep sea alkaline vents and how they have iron sulfides
Yeah.
in their walls, which would catalyzed
Yeah.
polymerization, and
Okay.
so or catalyzed the the polymerization of monomers into polymers, and so from that you work up in complexity, and there are lots of experiments
Mm,
on that.
I see. Okay, so I was gonna ask something. Uh, from what I've heard is that the first organisms actually appeared from under the sea. Is that true?
That's the general consensus. Yes.
So that like these smallest organisms become even more complex through time, and then some of them crawled out of the water and grew legs and larger legs. Is that true?
Not necessarily in that order, but the first life forms, as the general consensus is, were
Mm-hmm.
prokaryotes, the organisms without
Yeah.
a nucleus, and so you have your bacteria and archaea, and they split
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around
Okay.
3.8 billion years or so, and then you get eukaryotes from that, and then later you get the first tetrapods who crawled
Oh
out onto
yeah.
land.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, evolution is when something simple becomes something complex. Is that how one
Not
way of
necessarily.
defining it? Uh,
I mean, there are
so,
lots of
uh
examples where more, I guess you could say, more complex organisms become simpler as they adapt to their environment.
I
There are lots of
see.
examples of that.
Um, I'm really not familiar with this event, but I've heard of one event called the Cambrian explosion. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've actually done 2 videos on it.
Oh yeah, really?
Yep.
I've just subscribed to you last night, so like I
You got a lot
haven't
of
had the
catching up to
time.
do then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so nice to be talking about evolution. I mean, this is something rather new. So, what is the Cambrian explosion exactly? Like, briefly, if you can explain to me.
Well, briefly, the Cameron explosion is or was the perceived radiation of a bunch of different animal phyla across the
Hmm.
Precambrian, across the Ediacaran Cambrian boundary, and into the Cambrian over the next like 60 million years or so.
Mm-hmm. Ah, I understand now. Do you think that without God, that these kind of events? Oh, wait. Let me
Okay,
redo the question. Um, do you think believing that all these things happened without uh, God behind it is rational, like subjectively? And tell me why.
it seems. I mean, whether or not God was clandestinely pulling the strings uh,
Hmm.
behind the curtain, to mix metaphors, uh,
Yeah.
whether or not that happened, that's beyond the scope of science. If that is
Okay.
indeed what happened, the only thing science, as a methodologically naturalistic process, can only deal with natural phenomena. If
Yes.
if God was, indeed moving electrons and forcing certain organisms to mate or whatever,
Hmm.
while theoretically possible, we wouldn't be able to measure that with science unless
Yes.
God made him or herself known
Ah,
through
I see.
naturalistic means.
Okay. So, what actually convinced you to become an atheist? I presume you were born as a religious boy, I guess, as a
Uh,
Christian, probably.
yeah, yeah. My the household is religious. Went to Methodist church for a number of years. Um, the night that I became, well, I had doubts because I essentially found out it was possible to not believe in God.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah. We all realize
I,
that.
yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing that it was possible to not believe.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I live in Louisiana, so that's a fairly common thing, but all throughout the South. But on the night that I became an atheist,
Mm.
I had had doubts because it it didn't seem to me that from the research I did that there was reason really to believe in a God, and so I tried praying in my bed one night, just by myself, just in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
and I sat there in the dark silence.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, it was kind of, still waiting
Yeah.
this very day.
That awkward waiting for God to answer your prayers.
But I kind of, and yeah, that was it was what 10, 11, somewhere around in there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that was a decade ago, and I still have gotten no response. And so
Yeah.
when I look when I look on religion now, inherently I have no problem with it. I'm not like
Yeah.
Dawkins or
Like
Harris or
Dawkins.
anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it. But it very much seems like cultural, social phenomenon. So yeah.
Cultural, social. Okay. So I guess I can call you as a biologist. Can I call you that?
I'm not a biologist yet. Still working on the degree. I'm
Okay.
getting
So
there.
I wish you full luck on that, bro. Like totally.
Yeah, me too. What are you going
Um,
to school for?
I'm I don't know how it goes in your region, but in Indonesia, uh, when we pass middle school, we have 3 years of middle school. So we have like 6 years of preschool, 6 years of primary school, 3 years of middle school, and 3 years of high school. And in
Okay.
these 3 years of high school, we have the option to pick the majors of science or social studies.
Hmm.
And I'm currently in science. I should probably tell you a little backstory. Is that okay?
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Uh, I was born in a Chinese family. I'm a Christian, and in Indonesia they kind of discriminate Christians and Chinese. So I guess I'm
Hmm.
on the bad part of this country, uh, because Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the whole wide world. I'm not saying that
Really? Hmm.
everybody. I'm not saying that Muslims are bad guys. You've heard about the shooting accident on New
Yeah,
Zealand.
I heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's such a shame. I don't know if the guy was a theist or an atheist, but if
I
he's a
don't think it really
Christian,
matters.
yeah, I don't think it really matters. Yeah, but uh, talking from my perspective, I became an agnostic atheist when I was 12 until I was 13, and then I had this encounter with God and I became a Christian again. I came back to my faith, and that's when I started working on apologetics ministry. So I'm currently 16. I've only been here for like 2.5 years, probably three. Yeah, but that's why I'm just looking for someone to like, oh, let me discuss God with you so that I can have a new perspective of the world, because I believe that I cannot just look at the world the way I see it subjectively. That's why I appreciate this opportunity so much.
Okay.
But then again, as an atheist, can I know what's your? There's a friend of mine. His name is Nelson. He's the actually the person who uh, got me interested in this part of Christian apologetics. I actually invited him here, but he has piano lessons, I guess. And then he told me that there's this thing called the second law of thermodynamics. As from what I've heard, is that energy cannot be created and it also cannot be destroyed. Is that true?
No, that's not the
And
second law.
oh no, the second law is when the in Indonesia we call it pemerataan. The ex when the universe expands and heat expands too. Is that the second law?
So the second law talks about that
Uh huh.
in a thermodynamic system, the what is it? The
Heat.
amount of energy available for
Yeah.
work, uh, the uh, was it tends towards. It's like the energy available for work there becomes less and less of it over
Yeah.
time. Is the
Uh.
general entropy? I think is
Yeah.
the term
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that. And
Okay.
so yeah, if I remember
So
correctly,
yeah.
audience, if I'm screwing up, then someone please call me out on that. Uh,
Okay. So uh, yeah, as from what I've heard, is that energy becomes what did you call less? It
entropy, yeah,
entropy. Yeah, and
tends
if
towards yeah.
yeah, and one day all heat will disperse, I guess, or it won't
Yeah.
suffice.
Yes,
Uh,
it'll no longer be able to, or energy will no longer be able to perform work, and that will be the heat death of the universe.
yes, and then everything will go back to the way it was before the Big Bang. Is it like
I I
everything
don't know if
dies,
that's the
just
case.
dead stones?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the case that it will become like before the Big Bang. I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, everything will be dead by that point. Yes,
Okay, but as an atheist, do you think you have a moral standard of good or bad? Do you think you have that, or do you not?
do I think I can morally tell what is good or bad? Uh,
I'm no no no. Can you justify what's morally good or bad? Of course, you're a really nice guy, so
um,
I can't say that all atheists are immoral.
I would I would think so. I look at
Mm-hmm.
um, I can see. Well, the problem is I'm not a philosophy person. I
Mm-hmm.
think there are other atheists who are far better at talking about the philosophy
Oh yeah,
aspects of
it's
it.
okay. I'm
Um,
still a rookie here too.
I like. Uh, I think I can justify certain acts,
Yeah.
certain beliefs about morality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I probably don't go about justifying them correctly, because for
Yeah,
me
that's
one of the things that bothers me is the idea of what is it called, the Hume's rate, or Hume's guillotine is you can't get an ought from an is, and I don't
you
like that. Uh,
can you repeat the guillotine part and until
oh,
what
it's
did you say?
called a Hume's guillotine. It's like you can't
Okay.
get an ought from an is, or it's like just because we can demonstrate that something is beneficial, that doesn't, or something might benefit a population, but that doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's morally
Yeah.
correct or
Hmm.
something like that. It's
Okay.
uh, not. It's. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a philosophy person.
Yeah, it's okay.
There are
Totally.
there's like actually there's like Steve McRae who's out there. He's really big into philosophy.
Mhm.
There's there are lots of other people who, like Irrationality Rules. He talks about morality and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
I know that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about morality and stuff. They're much more into the philosophy of it. I think philosophy is a good subject to learn. It's very interesting,
Yeah.
but I'm not really big into it. Uh,
Okay.
I think I can justify certain acts,
Hmm.
but that's about as far as I can get with that.
Okay. Okay, so I think it would be better to dive in where you're pretty good at because um, I've watched a video of Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins is an atheist, and he said that our purpose of life is to keep the DNA of our species existing. Is
Sure.
that true? Okay, so I have a question. As an atheist, you believe that one day it's just one day everything will die out because of the lessening of the entropy, and you yeah, as an atheist, I believe that death is not the end, but probably as an atheist, you only have like one chance of this life, and then you die ceasing to exist. Is that how you see your life? Okay,
When I die, that'll
and
be it.
okay, but uh, so why is surviving a good thing when the end is just everything dying?
I I think there's sort of an equivocation on good. It's not. It's amoral. It is inherently not good or evil to survive, to pass on your genetic variations to your
Okay.
offspring, to create offspring with genetic variations. I don't think there's anything good or bad about that. I think that's just,
Mm.
that is something that organisms, unconscious and conscious, do. And so, since it's something we all do, I don't think we can make any sort of moral pronouncements about it.
Ah, I see. Okay, so let me redo my question. Why is it purposeful for us to try and exist? Okay, that should be my question.
Why is it purposeful for us to exist?
How do I explain that? English is not my first language,
Um,
so I'm scared that I don't make any sense.
I think you're doing fine. Um,
Okay.
I mean, we just happen to exist, but we derive our own purpose from our life choices and experiences. I wasn't born to be, in a sense, I wasn't born specifically to be an evolutionary biologist.
Yeah.
Uh, that is my choice that I have consciously made
Yes.
because I'm fascinated by the subject.
Yes. So, okay. Uh, can you tell me something about what? Okay, so you said that your skepticism, it happened when you were 11.
10, 11, somewhere around in there, yeah.
Okay, so what did you expect exactly when you were asking for an answer from God?
Well, I don't know. Presumably, an all-knowing God would know exactly what to tell, would know exactly what kind of nudge to give me to say, "Hey, I'm here. Wake up, McFly." You know, uh, but and, and so he would know, or she.
Yeah, he or she. Okay. But um, do you think that I've met a few atheists, and what they said to me was that if there's a God, why is there suffering? I guess that's a pretty good argument you could use. But
Um,
uh
uh,
huh.
it depends. I
Mm-hmm.
think you can justify suffering in a world with a god. The problem isn't justifying suffering. The problem is justifying all of the all the alleged attributes of God that are assigned to him at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Uh huh.
yeah.
Okay, so like one of them asked me if there's a God, why would he prevent African children from dying? Why did not he prevent tsunamis from happening and killing hundreds of thousands of people? There's this uh, big island in Indonesia. It's called Sumatra. Have you ever heard of it?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a region called Aceh, and I think in 2005 or 7, there was this great tsunami and it killed hundreds of thousands of people. That
Okay.
was the greatest tsunami ever in all of Indonesian history, I guess. And as a theist, I believe that there's a difference because God is all knowing, that there's his, what's it called? Is it omniscience? The
Okay.
knowing of all things? Yeah,
Yep.
omniscience, yeah. Yeah. So his omniscience surpasses all human minds. So that makes that uh, he knows when to intervene into something the exact right time. So do you think that have you ever considered of probably waiting? No, no, not waiting. You've been waiting for 10 years ago. Um, have you ever tried to wait for God a little longer?
I still am waiting.
You still am.
I
And
haven't.
if,
I haven't. Said nope. Nothing will ever convince me. Oh, I'm still here, still kicking.
okay.
If I happen to
So,
die though, then I guess I'll have stopped. As
okay. Okay, so how long do we have here? How long are you available? I mean,
long as you want, I guess. Yeah.
you just came back from work. I'm
I
scared
mean,
of
I, you know, I give it another hour. How about that?
you give another. Okay. So, yeah, do you want to start about something? I'm pretty much just asking you questions. Maybe you want to ask me some questions?
Um, do you do you accept evolution or not?
Oh, so as a theist, as a Christian, I believe that the that no, not humans. How should I say this? I might believe that the Big Bang happened, and I might believe that yes, the Big Bang was uh, when expansion happened and everything began to exist. But I do not believe that humans evolved from uh, lesser life forms.
And why is that?
This is all kind of dogmatic, but it's okay if I can still talk about it. Okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Um, I believe that man are made in the image of God, and if the image of God was a chimpanzee, then I would be doubting what my God looks like. Um, but yeah, as atheist, I believe that God made us humans just like that, without ever having to evolve from, let's say, apes or lesser life forms before apes. Yes, that's what I believe.
Um, so when you say okay, so
Hmm.
another question that I guess I want to ask is, do you think the Earth is old or relatively young?
I think that the Earth is like 6,000 years old. I'm a young Earth creationist.
Okay. Um,
Hmm. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
That's kind of my wheelhouse. So that's part of my wheelhouse.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good.
Um, so what convinced you of young Earth creationism? I guess I would ask.
Um, Probably is. Okay, okay. Well, let me think about this.
Okay.
The thing that convinced me with the idea of a the creation of a 6,000 year old Earth is because I found. Oh wait. Okay, it's. Have you ever heard of someone called Dr. Kent Hovind?
Oh Lord, yes, I've had
Yes.
two
Yeah, I.
interactions with him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool.
Um.
What?
Okay. Uh, Kent Hovind a is not a professional researcher. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
Why is that?
So so for one thing, he holds no degrees in any relevant fields. He talks a lot
Mm-hmm.
about biology, geology,
Yeah,
astronomy,
he
chemistry.
does. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't hold degrees in any of those fields. That's not why he's not a good source. You cannot hold degrees in fields and be
Yeah.
perfectly good at it. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the first thing. He doesn't hold degrees in any of those fields. He he has been corrected on a lot of points
Mm-hmm.
regarding his arguments.
Yes.
If you go ask Steve McRae, he can
Mm-hmm.
tell you specific examples. One example that Steve often points to is he has done hangouts with Hovind like this, where he has
Yeah.
shown how claims he makes about carbon dating the same woolly mammoth to two different ages
Mm-hmm.
was wrong. It was a misreading of the original source. He has
Mm-hmm.
pointed this out to Hovind, and Hovind still uses it anyway, even
Mm-hmm.
though he has been shown that it is wrong. If I
Mm-hmm.
were shown that some argument I was using was wrong, I would drop it.
Okay.
I would feel happy that someone corrected me and I can move on because I now have the what I hope is the correct information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hovind is not. If you ever bump into a lot of American
Mm-hmm.
skeptics, a lot of us have interacted with Hovind in some form or another.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really concerned uh, about really teaching about evolutionary biology, things like that. Um, Even when you read other creationist works, like
Mm-hmm.
you were familiar with Answers in Genesis.
Uh, I think that's is that Hovin's work?
No, he does. Is it, he's
Cre-
Doctor Dino. I don't remember quite what his
yeah.
group name is. Answers in Genesis is the major is the largest creationist organization, young Earth creationist organization here in the states.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, Even they are at odds with what Hovind says on a lot of
Mm-hmm.
points. Not on core
Okay.
doctrine, right? They both are like, yeah, the Earth is about 6 to 10,000 years old. There was a
Mm-hmm.
flood, Adam and Eve, blah blah blah. On core doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
they're together, but on a lot of the arguments, they tremendously disagree. And
Mm,
there's a
I
long
see.
history of documenting these arguments, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
At his core, Hovind is not a good source for
Mm-hmm.
trying to learn about science. A
Okay.
good source would be, say, Google Scholar.
Okay.
If you ever want to know about a subject, like if you really do want to know what evolution says,
Mm-hmm.
don't take my word for anything. Don't take my word
Okay.
for anything.
Oh,
Go fact check everything I say. Go to
mm-hmm.
Google Scholar, type in Cameron explosion. You'll
Mm-hmm.
get pages and pages and pages of articles. Document of a lot of them. Sometimes they're recent articles, sometimes they're older articles, documenting what what data researchers have accrued on this subject
Mm-hmm.
and put forth. And I've synthesized some of it in two of my videos on Cameron explosion.
Yeah, I
But
see.
yeah, Kent Hovind is not a good source.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is the takeaway from
Uh, okay. So to be honest with you, I think still relatively young. So this is a disclaimer for the audience too. I might not be giving pretty good arguments about evolution, especially because I actually study more of the philosophical side of God's existence. So I think we're kind of the opposite, but I still enjoy this conversation. Like, I really do.
okay.
Okay, so you were saying that something about carbon dating, about Hovin's
Yes,
research.
he
Um,
mischaracterizes it
mhm.
to attack
Okay,
it.
so what made you exactly? I'm gonna ask you the same question. What made you exactly believe that the Earth was older than 6,000 billions, millions, hundreds of thousands?
It's well, the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old.
Okay.
Um, the Earth can't possibly be below 10,000 or below years old. Um, when you look at how geological formations accrue sediment, when you look at how populations vary in their alleles over time, when you combine these, uh, when you combine these with a look at the fossil record,
Mm-hmm.
it's simply not possible for the Earth to be 6 to 10,000 years old, because what you would essentially be having is hundreds of events going on simultaneously in the exact same locations all over the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, for instance, you because there are different ways that creationists, young Earth creationists, look at the geologic column. For instance, Antarctica has not always been a frigid wasteland. For instance, let's just take
Yes.
that as an example. It was at one point a desert, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was a lush, jungly region,
Mm-hmm.
and then later it became a frigid
Mm-hmm.
wasteland.
Pangea, is that what you call it when?
Well, it was a desert when it was part of Pangaea, and then
Okay.
as it and then well, once it got to the bottom, it was kind of stuck, cut off
Mm-hmm.
from the rest of the continents, and I think something to do with like the ocean currents
Yeah.
just swirling around and around, and that made it colder. But you would essentially be having the entirety of the flora and fauna of this continent changing every few hundred years
Mm-hmm.
to accommodate what we see in the fossil record.
Okay.
And so it's you just can't. It's it's like trying to do everything in a year in one day, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm. I still don't. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because as I told you, I'm still new to this part of uh, science. But I'm gonna use what I know, and this is again from Kent Hovind. You can correct me if I'm wrong, so that I can get uh, the correct way of how evolutionists think or how they teach what they know. From what I've heard is that the Earth is spinning faster and faster every day. Is that true?
No.
That from what I've heard from Kent Hovind is that after the Big Bang happened, is that the Earth did not spin as fast as it was now. Is that true?
I mean, faster? No, I think the Earth is slowing down. It used to be faster. The
Oh,
days used
really?
to be yeah a lot shorter, so it's actually slowing down based on due to gravitational pull from the moon and the other planets and
Hmm.
the sun. You know,
So, do you think that how you so you said that the Earth is actually going slower from when it was first originated.
Mhm.
Do you think that there's wait how fast did it spun actually?
well, I mean, you can look at I think based on their projections. I mean, there was a time when a day was like 12 hours or something like that.
Oh
It
yeah.
was it was faster in the past. I'm sure someone can. Uh, the difference is less than 1/10 of 1% in its present velocity and is
Hmm.
lower. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, it is getting slower over time, but yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So okay, let's talk about dinosaurs. Are you pretty familiar with that?
Yep.
So what I've heard from the internet is that evolutionists say that not one person has ever seen a living dinosaur.
Oh, whenever I go out in the morning, I see lots of dinosaurs floating around the trees.
But yeah, is that true? What the evolutionists say?
As far as we understand it, no one's ever seen a non-avian dinosaur. Correct?
A non what? Sorry,
Non-avian,
what
avian
is that?
dinosaurs with the birds.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Avian.
So uh, if you look at ancient hieroglyphics or drawings, it would of ancient kingdoms like yeah, Old England, Aztec, and whatsoever. They kind of sculpt people fighting with these great lizard, big lizard-like things. Do you think that that's how they express them witnessing a living dinosaur? Would you
No,
say that? Why not?
dinosaurs didn't have wings, or non-avian dinosaurs didn't have wings. Non-avian dinosaurs don't match the descriptions of most cultures' dragons. What maybe I think some of the dragons were based on discovered fossils of dinosaurs. For instance, in China, I think it's possible that uh, the the Chinese dragon is long and slender. It's got the
Yes,
head
yes.
that's very long and slender. Uh, well, there are lots of sauropods known from
Mhm,
China, the long necked dinosaurs. So I think it's entirely possible that someone may have seen just the head and
mhm,
then the neck vertebrae, and that was all. And
mm.
maybe that could have been mistaken for a dragon. I have no problem with
Okay.
that. Um, I've heard other hypotheses. There's one that the dragon's based on like the Komodo dragon. Uh,
Oh
and
yeah,
so,
that's from Indonesia.
yeah, and so as the story was passed upwards into Asia and then across to Europe,
Mhm.
the they kept adding forks to the tongue, like because they're varanid, so they fork at the end of their tongue.
Yeah.
And so the idea is maybe that they uh, when the story was passed along, or when this drawing of this Komodo dragon passed along, someone added another fork to the tongue, and then
Yeah.
another, and eventually the forks look like fire breath.
Okay.
That's
Ah, I
one thing I've
see.
heard. I don't know if it might not be true, but
Okay.
that's one story I've heard. So,
But how do you explain the mass hieroglyphics of these, uh, let's say, yeah, dragon-like? Not all of their hieroglyphics draw a giant lizard with wings. In the
right.
Babylonian hieroglyphics, if you look it up, you can see something like this. Wait, let me draw it to you. I don't know what kind of dinosaur this is.
Well,
Is it
the
a
Egyptian
brontosaurus?
lion or the Egyptian dragons, some of them look kind of like lions, which is
Uh-huh.
not unexpected.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it kind of looks probably like, where is it? Like this. What is that? I don't know what kind of dinosaur is that.
I mean, looks sort of like a sauropod. I mean, yeah. I mean, let's people drew things they saw. People draw things they don't see. Uh, this has been happening since antiquity. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, is what it is. Some things are misidentified,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I mean, I've heard the line of argumentation that the ancient culture dragons were actually uh, mythicized dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't put any stock in that because we don't
Mm-hmm.
find any evidence of human dinosaur interactions outside of a few murals that
Mm-hmm.
may or may not be dinosaurs. We don't find, for instance, we don't find any dinosaur bones butchered by humans,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can't glean DNA from dinosaur bones like we can from more recent,
Mm-hmm.
like Pleistocene megafauna, for instance. Uh, there's, there are no examples of humans mauled by dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and so if
Okay.
these are things we should expect
Mhm.
if non-avian dinosaurs lived
Yeah.
recently.
Okay. Um, I went to a book fair like last week where if in the US, I guess it's like where a $24 book would drop its cost to like $6. That was a really big book fair. Like everything, you can find any book in there.
Yeah,
And yeah, I bought the book from Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion,
yeah, I have that
and
book.
I also bought a book by Rice Brooks. It's called God's Not Dead.
Hmm.
So in
I've
that
heard
book,
that.
he states that science and religion are answering different questions. Do you agree with that?
That was kind of the the Gould approach of non-overlapping magisteria, where you had
Wait, Jay Gould?
Stephen Jay Gould. Yeah,
Stephen Jay Gould. Okay.
that was kind of his idea of non-overlapping magisteria, where science,
Mm-hmm.
answers the how question, but religion answers the why question.
Yes.
It's the I think that you have to take a very particular view of religion to kind of argue that, because clearly there are lots of religions that do try to argue the
Mm-hmm.
how and the why.
Yes.
And so, uh, sure, fine. If science doesn't provide us with, uh, like doesn't provide us with like philosophy, for instance, or whatever. And so, if you want to take if you want the awe and you get that from God, fine. Whatever. I don't care. Wherever
Mm-hmm.
that comes from, it's fine
Okay.
as long as it doesn't harm anybody.
I see. Okay, so are you a big fan of Dawkins or are you not?
Uh, he's fine. I think he's a little bit over the top in some ways, but he's popular, and I like some of it. I've read 5 of his books at
Hmm.
this
Oh,
point.
really?
Yeah. I think let's see the Blind Watchmaker, The Ancestor's Tale, Greatest Show on Earth, The Ancestor's Tale,
Salvage Gene? Uh-huh.
The Selfish Gene, The
Uh-huh.
God Delusion. I think that's all of them. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm about to buy another Dawkins book, which should I buy that you would recommend me? I would
Definitely The
really love to do
Ancestor's Tale.
research. The Ancestors' Tale, as in story, tale,
Yes.
Tale. Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Fantastic
mm,
book. One of my favorites of all time.
I see. I've just so I study in a Christian school, and I
Mhm.
have this teacher teaching biology. He's from the Philippines, and when I showed him the God Delusion book, he sprang up, and he directly asked me if he could borrow my book. So yeah, I guess that's a pretty good book, I guess, if he does that.
Yeah. It was for me when I read it. I had long been an atheist when I read The God Delusion. I read it more out of a curiosity to see what
Hmm.
all the hype was about. Um, it was okay. I don't remember a whole lot from it. Um, his book, to be frank, though, wouldn't pass in a philosophy journal.
Yeah,
If it were
why
peer
so?
reviewed by a philosopher, for instance, it wouldn't pass.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, you can't deny that it was popular. Fine,
Yeah.
it just didn't have the greatest arguments.
Yeah.
And is what it is. He's not a philosopher. He's a biologist. So is
Yes, exactly.
you know
Okay. So, uh, as I was saying about, we were talking about the evolution of the Big Bang, I guess, a few, like half an hour ago.
okay.
Uh, is it true that hydrogen is the oldest atom of all?
No, there were hydrogen and helium were both birthed from the Big Bang, but also there were trace amounts of lithium.
Hmm. But so what actually made all the atoms in the periodic table? What yeah, like what happened?
Well, there's a field called is it radio astronomy, where
Mm-hmm.
they figured out that basically stars were
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing the elements like supernovae were manufacturing the heaviest natural elements like
Mm-hmm.
up to iron and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Our star is manufacturing helium, if I remember correctly, because not that it's not that big, it's not that bright and everything, and so it's only manufacturing helium. Eventually, as it does that, it will expand and then it will throw off its like uh, outer crust or whatever, and then it will shrink and
Mm-hmm.
become a red dwarf. Um,
Okay.
and so yeah, so they're the heavier elements are manufactured in stars.
Mhm. Okay. Um, Let me ask you. I presume that not one Homo sapiens was was there when the Big Bang or the evolution occurred. Is that true? I believe that's what
That no
most.
humans were there when the Big Bang happened.
Yeah, that
Yep,
that's of course
we came along with
obviously.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, okay, from what I've heard is that the what do you call this? The widow's peak of someone
Okay.
actually grows further front as they grow older. Does that happen
Oh,
too?
you're talking about your forehead right here?
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
Widow's peak is this little area up here.
Yeah,
No, the forehead
is it,
doesn't grow forward as you age.
or do we just our eye sockets shrink, or what happens?
As you grow older, the cartilage descends due to
Mhm.
gravity, but no, your bones don't grow
Okay.
forwards or backwards.
Okay. One of the distinctions between non-Homo sapiens, like uh, the Neanderthal man and the Homo pithecanthropus, is that yeah also a part of before they became Homo sapiens. One of the things that distinguishes them from us is that they walk with their backbones curved, I guess. Like they they don't stand erected like we do.
No,
And
Neanderthal was pretty erect.
but what I've heard as atheist is that in the early ages of man, people were able to live up for like 800 years. So, do you think that has an effect on their backbones as they probably walk crookedly?
Humans didn't live for 800 years.
Mm-hmm. How do you know that?
Well, as a matter of fact, you can actually you can the idea that people live to 800 years comes from religions. There's no
Mm-hmm.
evidence from whoops, not my computer. There's no evidence from looking at anyone's bones that they were ever 800 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it doesn't. The only thing that would happen if you lived to be 800 for some horrible reason was that your nose would get bigger and would the cartilage would descend, your ears would descend, but your bones wouldn't. I mean, like your forehead, for instance, wouldn't change. It would just be your forehead. It would just stay up here.
Ah, I see. Okay, so that was a really good information. So I guess I gotta really work on what I know about evolution.
Yeah, someone pointed out, I would love to know how your teeth can last 800 years. Must have a really good dentist. That's a
I
fair point.
see. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, uh, I figure that Dawkins is someone who's really skeptical about God, and I watched his video when he said that he would believe in God if God wrote in the skies that I am God, here I am, yeah. And then some anchorman asked him if that would happen and he would really believe in God, and he said no. I would just say that's an alien. Are you that sort of atheist?
Um, I think. Well, I don't think he said it. So okay. Well, here's what he means. The
Mm-hmm.
There's an idea that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. If
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic,
Mm-hmm.
it gets to a point where it just seems like magic. And technology does.
Okay.
Show us cell phone to someone Middle Ages. All right.
Okay.
So it could, theoretically, someone could invent a technology where it could do that, and we have no idea how it's done. It could seem like
Okay.
magic, but it would actually be someone's technology.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea if someone wrote in the sky, if there were like a little airplane up there riding out in like the
Yeah.
clouds, but no one on the ground saw the airplane. Does that mean the airplane didn't write it? No.
Yeah.
Uh, what he was, and that's what he was referring to is,
Mm-hmm.
would it be God? Maybe. Could also be aliens.
It could also be
I
aliens.
mean, they're both unlikely. Uh,
Yeah.
there are probably simpler ways for God to make himself known to people. He's omniscient after all. He knows
Yeah.
exactly what it would take to say, "Hey, I'm here." Um, there are much easier ways to do it, I
Yeah.
think. So
So, what do you think about people coming back alive from the dead? Would that be biologically possible? If someone were dead for, say, 3 years, 3 days? Oh my God, 3 years, 3 days.
I don't think 3 days works. I think there are like maybe like an hour or so. I think it is,
Hmm.
or I don't know if it is maybe an hour, but that's. I know some people have like been deemed like medically dead for a number of minutes, and
Yeah.
then like they come back to life, and they either see things or they don't. But yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. Yeah, people can be dead for like
Okay.
minutes or so.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure as a former Christian, you've heard about the death, about the life of Jesus, the God who incarnated as a man. I guess you would see it as a silly story now.
I
But
wouldn't say it's silly necessarily.
but um, the fact that he historically, even non-Christians, uh, they say no. What's the word? Pangakuan is they confirm that Jesus' tomb was empty,
No, they don't.
and they do
No,
that. They say that the tomb was empty because someone must have stolen the body. Okay, what do you know about that? Can you tell me something?
if you if you read there are people like Paulogia, for instance, who do this sort of thing, who deal with like
Jeff
historical
Durbin? Like
Paulogia.
Who's Paulo Gia? Okay, I actually chatted with him on Twitter.
Yeah, he is far more knowledgeable on this front than I am. But
Hmm.
the thing is, the empty tomb is not. So there's a thing called like the minimal facts approach,
Okay.
where it's like, what is the minimal set of facts we can infer? We can definitely infer about Jesus,
Hmm.
right? There was a guy named Jesus. He got crucified. I think is pretty much it.
Hmm.
There's they don't agree on, or scholars don't agree on, of course, on the resurrection, but on an empty tomb.
Hmm.
It likely, if he were as someone
Stolen.
who was well, no, likely he wasn't stolen. As someone who died in that time through a common Roman execution method, he would have been thrown in a mass grave with everybody else who
Okay.
had also been uh, executed that day. That's
Okay.
what would have happened in that time historically. People just got thrown in mass graves. Um, and there are other things involved in it. I'm not a big historical or biblical
Mm.
history person,
Yeah,
so there are lots of other people who are better to ask on that front than me.
I see. So, according to history, the appearances of Jesus was witnessed by hundreds, probably thousands of people.
No,
Really don't believe that?
it's not according to history. It's according to the Bible.
No. Have you ever heard of someone called Tacitus?
He doesn't confirm that 500 people saw Jesus.
He confirms that the resurrection of Jesus was true.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
He confirms that there
So,
were the people like Tacitus and Josephus who came later
mhm,
confirm that there was a Christian movement that got larger, but
mhm.
none of them confirm the resurrection.
Okay. So, I think we've been talking for like an hour now. Is it an hour yet? No.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Okay. So, I've not come to know you quite deeper yet. Is this okay if I kind of switch the topics a little bit?
sure.
Yeah. So, what do you, what's your passion about evolution exactly?
Uh, I think
I just gotta know
it's
so that,
fascinating.
uh-huh.
Um, I love reading technical literature on it. I love studying it, finding out what new developments have come out and how that shapes our understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just fascinating. Evolution also has practical applications,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm also fascinated with that to a lesser extent. Though I really love phylogenetics.
Phylogenetics?
Yeah, that's the study of how that's the study of the evolutionary relationships among
Hmm.
organisms, how humans
I
relate to
see.
chimps and elephants and everything else, right?
Hmm. So if the evolution of, so I can say that this is some sort of macro evolution from being an ape to being a Homo sapiens.
Well, we're still apes, so
Oh, we're still
that would
apes.
be macroevolution.
Okay.
Macroevolution
Mm-hmm.
is defined as genetic change at or above the level of species.
Mm-hmm.
So a speciation event, for instance, like which has been observed in cichlids, finches, mosquitoes, that
Mm-hmm.
would be a macroevolutionary event, a short
Mm-hmm.
time macroevolutionary event,
Okay.
or polyploidy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I see. Well, I guess that's all the arguments I have for today, I guess. I guess yeah,
Well,
I've
what were you
spoke.
going to ask me about macroevolution?
I was gonna ask you about if did the evolution happen at the same time for every species?
Well, evolution is always happening for every species. So
Like,
yes,
is it still happening now? Like
to this very day.
right now? Okay.
Hmm.
So
Whenever
what?
you
Uh-huh.
reproduce, your whenever you reproduce, you're perpetuating evolution. So yeah.
I see. So what if everything evolves at the same time? Why are there still a lot of many apes out there? Chimpanzees, like non-Homo sapiens,
uh, because they specialized for their niches.
specialized for their what?
Their niches. They developed specific adaptations that
Mhm.
separated our common. So when we have our common ancestor, one population went one way and developed its own set of adaptations, and our
Mhm.
ancestors developed their own set of adaptations. And so, for instance, New World monkeys, they came to South America and Central America, and they
Mhm.
developed their specific adaptations and their specific morphology. Whereas our ancestors uh, were in the old world, that's Europe, Asia, Africa. That's the old world,
Mhm.
uh, and so they developed their specific adaptations, and so they diversified.
Okay.
I actually did a video
So,
on that too.
oh, really? Oh, yeah, I would love to watch that. So, what kind of specific adaptations that made us evolve to a Homo sapien?
The term Homo sapien describes describes an organism with a set of features. That's
Mhm.
having uh, this large brain case, having smaller jaws, uh, a lot of things like that, being less hairy than our ancestors. There are lots of Homo sapiens is just a term that we ascribe to a population of
Okay.
organisms,
Hmm.
right?
But you can
So I mean,
define Homo sapiens from chimpanzees, right?
yeah, I mean they're more prognathic for one thing. Their jaws protrude forward. They're a lot less erect than we are. They're as far as their bone features go, their hips, for instance, ours looks more like a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Chimpanzee hips are more kind of erect like this. Um, they're like I said, they don't walk directly like we erect
Mm-hmm.
like we do, and they have these large canines and things like that. And so yeah, there are lots of differences between us, but there are also lots of similarities on both morphological and physiological levels. So
Okay. So, like, can you name one specific things that? Okay, so you said that we have a common ancestors, but our the way the path where our evolution ends are different. Is that how I say it? So, like apes, they adapt in a different way as we do. Okay, we're
yeah,
still apes. Yeah, yeah. So,
chimps, their
like,
adaptation. Yeah.
hmm can you name like one specific like? Give me an example of the difference between the ape where they don't evolve into Homo sapiens and when apes evolve into Homo sapiens.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean at the chimpanzee human split. we have a number of ancestors. Well, we have a number of fossils dating to around that time, like
Mm-hmm.
Sahelanthropus, Orarin, Ardipithecus, and chimps live in predominantly like tropical rainforest regions,
Mm-hmm.
which they have to because they don't have any way to uh, synthesize citrate in their own bodies. They have to live in
Yeah.
environments where citric fruits are available. Um, our ancestors, it seems, were in more of the tree savanna before kind of
Mm-hmm.
moving out into more of the open savanna later. And so that's one of the habitat differences. We focused on a different set of grasses.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, C3 grasses were what we focused on. There were other apes focusing on the C4 grasses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, of course, there were morphological changes that occurred along the way. Different
Mm-hmm.
genes get turned on or off or amplified. Uh, I've read a little bit about it, but I can't remember off the top of
Mm-hmm.
my head any specific examples.
Mm-hmm.
But did that answer your question, or did I not?
Uh, yeah, a little, but that's okay. So do you think that a change of habitat could trigger the changes in evolution?
Sure. Some probably. But if you
Okay.
drastically change an environment, you get uh some interesting evolutionary paths. Sure.
Okay. But what's the original habitat of our ancestors? Was it trees or like sands?
For our ape ancestors,
Yeah.
well, it was probably the tropical rainforest. It seems that the vast majority of primates live in tropical regions,
Okay.
a lot of
So
equatorial regions.
wouldn't the change of habitat kill them or damage them in any way?
No,
No?
no. If you live, I mean, well, environments. Well, look at humans. We can live in a lot of different environments. We can live in, we can set up a
Mm-hmm.
shop in either, uh,
Yeah.
the jungles of India
Yes.
or cool, uh, the cool Europe or
Yeah.
wherever.
But uh-huh.
Deserts like Arizona, Texas. Um, you can live in a range of environments, and so the same could be said of lots of organisms. Lots of organisms live in a range of environments.
Okay. But we're still humans, aren't we? Even though we live
Indeed,
in those different kinds of uh, environments.
indeed, we are. We've only been around for a very short time period.
Mhm.
Humans have
So,
only been around 300,000 years, or
okay.
it, yes, Homo sapiens have only been around for about 300,000 years.
Okay. I
So,
see.
blink of an eye, evolutionarily speaking.
Okay. Um, we came from this one of the simplest organisms. Is that true? Like from probably a single cell into they
Ultimately,
develop probably other body parts. Okay.
ultimately,
Yeah. So is it true that we came from a rock? This is basically can't hold it again because
no.
I found it kind of surprising.
Um, no, that's one of the points I mentioned earlier that he has been corrected on that point many times.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is not the case. No, he was actually challenged. He did a debate with Arn Ra on the Non Sequitur show where he was challenged to provide an instance of a textbook saying that life came from a rock and he couldn't do it. Right.
Hmm.
I've done three videos now where I discuss abiogenesis on my channel.
Hmm.
Um, and so if you want to kind of primer, very basic
Yeah.
primer on abiogenesis, and you can, uh, then they're out there. Those are out there.
Hmm.
So no, we did not come
Okay.
from a rock.
I see. Okay. Biologically, can you tell me what makes something alive?
Um, it's
Because as,
got,
as a theist, we believe that there's a we are alive because we have a spirit inside of us. But biologically speaking, that would make yeah.
you believe viruses have spirits?
I are viruses alive?
That's my question to you.
I don't think viruses have spirits. Wait, I don't know, but I don't think so. If there's a spirit inside a virus.
Uh, Biologically speaking, life living is a description of of matter that behaves in a certain way.
Hmm.
If it's matter made of cells that metabolizes things, that reproduces, that responds to its environment, that needs space, water, uh, things like that. Those are what we define, and also if it evolves, then those are what, when matter displays those characteristics, we call it living. If it,
I see.
viruses, for instance, don't respond to their environment unless they are inside of a host, and that's why they're considered
Mhm.
not quite alive.
I see. All
Yep.
right. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm getting a lot of things now. Viruses are not alive. Okay.
Uh, Abiogenesis is actually a very fascinating topic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just did a video.
Biogenesis? What was it called again?
Abiogenesis,
Abiogenesis? Uh-huh.
yeah, the origin of life. It's actually a fascinating topic. There's there's a lot of chemistry involved, a lot of interesting physics and biochemistry, and it's a neat little subject.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I
Yeah.
still prefer evolution over that, but it's neat,
Yeah.
neat stuff.
So, wait, are you close to Pelagia?
Uh, Geographically or
No.
emotionally?
Uh, Twitterly? In Twitter?
Sometimes.
Okay. Um, do you have like any other atheist friends who do like these kind of videos, but more philosophically than biologically? Because I really don't know anything about biology. I mean, like I had a test and I got like 12 out of 100,
Oh,
so I guess I
oh,
kind of
I'm
suck.
sorry. Steve McRae is a good person to ask.
He's also on Twitter.
Yes,
Oh, so he's is Steve McCrae?
yes, Steve
McCrae.
McRae.
Steve
He's a very
McCrae.
philosophically minded guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
very smart. He knows
Wow,
his
I see.
stuff on philosophy and a lot of other topics.
Wow, he
Um,
seems interesting. Okay, Steve McCrae.
it's yeah, STEVE space MCRAE.
All right. Oh, McRae. Okay, I see. I thought it was like McCrae. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um, but yeah. So with kind of what we've discussed in mind, do you still think that Hovind is a good source?
well, I really need to check if I really need to see for myself. I mean, like from the
Absolutely.
researchers, yeah, from mind you. I mean, like this is not some kind of discrimination, but I gotta really see what he says and is are there any objections to what he claims? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, I believe that we can't place faith without a base of evidence.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that would be blind faith, and that would lead us to doing immoral things. That would make us do like things that harm other people.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I believe that apologetics is it comes from the word apologia. It's a
Mhm.
Greek word,
To
and
defend.
yeah, to defend. So I believe with if we defend wrongly, I don't think that's part of defense. I think that's just uh, a desperate
Right.
attempt. But it's I really appreciate you telling me that there are some points where Hovind is wrong because my teacher actually let me borrow his video about creationism, and I see, yeah, as a theist myself, I see some things kind of strange, like us coming from Iraq. It's kind of hard for me to believe that.
Well, I don't believe it
Uh,
either. If it's any
yeah.
consolation. So, yeah. Yeah. Life did most certainly not come from Iraq, and
Okay.
I do think Hovind knows that. I did a video where because I have a 3-part talk with him on my channel from back when I first started on, not long
Wait,
after I
with
first started.
Hovind?
Yes. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
I've also done a debate against him. on whether or not
Wow,
the
that's
global
so
flood
cool.
happened.
Okay.
Um, I did a 3-part talk with him a while back, not long after I first started my channel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, is it half an hour each, something like that.
Okay.
Um, I was fine. I was just on the phone. I wasn't really prepared for the talk. I should have prepared myself. I
I
was not
see.
familiar with his arguments or anything like that, and I was also a lot quieter, a lot more shy when I first
Yeah.
started. So I didn't do that
Mm-hmm.
well in that instance. And I'm fine admitting that I didn't do that well. It happens.
It's okay, bro. That's a
Um,
that's a big start.
yeah, it's like it's a start, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I did a debate with him where I watched a video of his where he gave a lecture on the global flood, studied
Mm-hmm.
his arguments, went through them and all this. And then when the debate came up, I uh, went through a bunch of points that he either didn't answer or he kind of just said the same normal thing that he always says. Uh, and then I did a video about that debate
Mm-hmm.
titled "Drawing Lines on a Page."
Is it still on your channel now?
Yep, all my
Oh yeah, I'm
yep,
gonna look it up.
still it's I think when you go to my channel, it's the video that's on the main page.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even though it's getting kind of old now, I guess I should
Yeah.
probably replace it or change it to a different main page video at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I one of the points from that debate that I had with him, if you'll indulge me, is uh, he claimed paleomag. Do you know what paleomagnetic reversals are?
I don't know.
So,
Pally. Okay. Can you
so
explain it to me?
paleomagnetic reversals or paleomagnetic reversals are these places in the rock where the iron flips its orientation,
Mm-hmm.
basically because the magnetic poles of the Earth flip.
Okay.
They go through these cycles where they flip, basically.
Okay.
And so when lava cools, and when you got these mid ocean ridges, and when
Okay.
lava cools and the rock moves uh, outward away from the
Mm-hmm.
ridge, uh, it hardens, and so the iron in it solidifies and orients in the direction of the poles.
Mm-hmm.
So by looking at the iron in it, we can see it which way the poles have gone, and they flip, and that's why they're called reversals because they keep flipping.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things, so he claimed during his lecture that I watched from a few years back
Mm-hmm.
that paleomagnetic reversals don't exist.
Yeah.
They do exist. You can go see them. You can pick them up, lick them, whatever. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they're very much real. And so that
Yeah.
was one I pointed out to him. Uh, that's one of those places where not even other creationists agree with him. Like
Yeah.
Andrew Snelling is the geologist at Answers in Genesis,
Yes.
and he's written different articles about paleomagnetic reversals for Answers in Genesis.
Wait, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
The Answers of Genesis, is that like a theist community or an atheist community?
No, Answers in Genesis is a young Earth creationist, is the big young Earth creationist
Mm-hmm.
organization, biggest in the United States, maybe in the world. I don't know. It's pretty
Okay.
big, but they have what's called a Creation Museum and also Ark Encounter. Those are their organizations,
Okay.
or
Okay.
their
Go on.
established.
Okay. As
Um,
you were
so
saying.
so Snelling is their geologist guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he has written articles about paleomagnetic reversals. He knows that these do exist because he's
Mm-hmm.
studied them, he's seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is a place not even the other creationists agree with Hovind. Um, another example is uh, another example from that, and this is just the other one. I'll be done.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Okay, it's okay.
but
It's okay. Take your time.
he claimed in he claimed that woolly mammoths weren't uh, polar animals,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I wasn't sure why he claimed this, but I asked him during our debate because I went through the technical literature, went through a bunch of scientific papers
Mm-hmm.
that explained, um, oh boy, a TED talk. Okay,
A
well,
TED
thank
Talk.
you, um, thank you, Beach, for the TED Talk. I will send it to him. Um, so I went to technical literature. I found that there's lots of evidence of pollen from polar plants in the
Mhm.
dung of mammoths. Um, it I mean, no one's pretty much no one's ever really questioned that they were
Yeah.
polar animals. And so
Yeah.
he said during our debate that, and this is from Walt Brown, I believe. I think that's where he got it. That mammoths didn't have sebaceous glands.
What
Seba-
glands, sir?
the
What is that?
sebaceous are these little glands in the skin,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and what they would have done for the mammoth is prevent the hair from packing,
Okay.
right? But for a long time, these glands were unknown in mammoths. So his argument was they couldn't live in polar regions because then their hair would have matted and they wouldn't have had like efficient uh, way to
Mm-hmm.
conserve heat. Essentially, was
Okay.
the argument. But during our debate, while he was giving his, I think rebuttal, maybe second rebuttal, something like that, while he was giving it, I went and looked up some literature, some technical literature on it. Turns out mammoths have been found with sebaceous glands. So Hoven's been repeating this argument for at least 2 years because the video was 2 years old.
Okay.
2 years old, 2 or 3 years old, something like that. It was at least 2 or 3 years old, right? He's been repeating this claim since then. He could have fact checked it. He could have gone to the technical literature and looked this up
Yes.
and seen, oh, hey, I need to drop this argument because we have found this. But he didn't. He didn't drop it. He just kept repeating the argument
Okay.
because he doesn't really uh, fact check things.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I see. Well, I guess one thing that you're great about, what I like about you is that you just don't accept all things without seeing whether they're right or wrong. So I guess that's one thing you're really good at, and I really like that. I really don't like a person who just takes everything as like facts when they don't even know the truth about it.
oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think uh, if you immerse yourself in the technical literature, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to, of course you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, I think that if you were to look at the technical literature and you were to read uh, the works in that field, you would see that the Earth can't be 10,000 or so years old. It's just
Mhm.
not possible for
Yeah.
these all these things to have been living simultaneously. I gave the example with Antarctica.
Okay.
The whole of flora and fauna would have had to change every few hundred years. So
Mm-hmm.
the humans have been documenting things for over 2,000 years. So at some point, someone would have seen, oh, hey, the entirety of all the animals on Antarctica have changed again. We
Mm-hmm.
would have seen that
Yeah.
in that time period, but it's simply not how environments change. They change
Yes.
much more gradually, at least
Yeah.
in most cases, unless something catastrophic occurs. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely always fact check me,
Yes.
fact check anyone. Don't take anyone's
Yes.
word for it. Go,
Yes. I agree.
yeah, go to the source. That's this thing. RJ likes to call the friend of mine, RJ Downard, likes to call it the source methods approach because you
Mm-hmm.
go to the original source,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I attempt to do in my videos is go to the original source. And
Oh,
so
okay.
also the audience likes you.
Oh, really? What,
Yep.
what are they saying about me?
Uh, well, Beach Price says I like Darren. I want him to learn it all. Everything there is so much out there to learn.
Yeah, I guess I really gotta do good with biology from now on. You really motivate me for some reason. Wow. Okay.
Well, it's a neat subject, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, today was so thrilling. You know, I woke up like I set an alarm at 8 so that I can like take a shower and eat. And then at 8:45 you'd send me the link, and when I woke up at 7 I got anxious because I'm afraid that the alarm won't go off and then I'll go snoozing until like 10. But
Right.
then yeah, so then I can't sleep and I woke up like at 7:30 and then
Yeah.
I Yeah,
I've done that.
but
I actually, I
yeah,
woke, I woke up a little bit early this morning, and I was like, why?
yeah, but yeah, I really want to have another shot at this. I'm gonna really study more biology about probably how the Earth is formed and about the Big Bang. I'm still gonna stand with my theist arguments though, if that's okay.
I mean, I and I think pretty much every atheist I know has no problem with people being theists.
Hmm.
Um,
Except
I
for
don't.
Richard Dawkins for some reason.
Well, I would think he would say, if that's what, if you want to believe in God, you're fine in doing that. He's not going to try to trample on your freedoms or
Hmm.
anything. Um, but I mean, I did say he was a little bit eccentric. He kind of is.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
but pretty much everyone I know has no problem with anyone being a theist.
Hmm.
I would also say, no problem. Um, young Earth creationism though is wrong.
It's wrong.
Um, there's no way for me to really sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
Um, but at the
that's okay.
but at the end of the day, also, if you believe in God and that gives you joy in life, fine, okay, that's your
Okay,
choice.
okay.
That's my thought.
I guess I'll come back later and try to prove that the young Earth creationists is correct. But I still don't know. I kind of feel inferior for some reason because I feel
You're
like
not
you know
inferior.
everything, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm 16, he's 21, he's taking biology, and I'm failing
I'm almost
biology.
your same age. We're almost the same age.
We'll never catch up though.
Um, I mean, you're not inferior. I didn't know anything about science when I first started. It
Hmm.
took years for me to learn about biology. I still don't know anything about biology. I might seem a little bit knowledgeable, but I'm really not. I have lots of friends who are actual biologists.
Yeah.
Um, I had one friend of mine who's a biologist who was watching me while I did a talk with a young Earth creationist,
Hmm.
and the guy I was talking to, he was a nice guy. He
Hmm.
um he was kind of surprised at some points. He's like, "Oh, you know about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm passing
Wow.
familiarity with this." And my friend, who's a biologist in the chat, was like, "Everyone who's a cell biologist knows this." And I was like, "Yeah, that's probably true." But
Yeah.
but yeah, so just if you want, for instance, I can also get you in touch with Christians who are evolutionists.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know a lot of
I
them.
would really love that. I would really love
Snyder
that.
is a very good example. He's a brilliant guy. I like him a
He's a
lot.
Christian,
Yes, he's
but
very much.
he's is he a young Earth creationist? No.
He accepts
Oh, okay.
evolution. Uh,
Okay.
Mary Schweitzer, the lady who found the Tyrannosaurus soft tissue, she's a Christian.
Hmm.
Francis Collins, head of the Human Genome Project, also a Christian.
Wow.
Robert Bacher, um, who is one of the most famous paleontologists. He was actually the one who helped uh, design the dinosaurs or he gave the ideas to Steven Spielberg for the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
He is actually a Presbyterian minister,
Oh yeah.
but he's also a world famous
Wow.
paleontologist. Yeah, so all these people I mentioned, these are all evolutionists, all of
Yes.
them,
All right.
right? So it's you don't have to give up God to accept evolution or vice
Yeah.
versa.
Wow,
So
that's the first time an atheist tells me that.
really,
You know, when yeah, when I first I believe the most recent social media app for chatting you use is probably Hangouts and Kick. Is Kick still a thing now in the US?
what is it?
It's like a chatting app. It's called Kick, like Kik.
I'm not. I've heard of Skype, but not Kick.
Okay, so at one time I played Clash of Clans. That was like 3 years
Yeah, I've
ago,
heard of that game.
and like some guy, like all of them were using Kick, and all of them were some of them were from California. So I thought Kick was some kind of popular
Oh, so it's like a
social media.
gaming thing. Okay, I
Yeah,
gotcha. All right.
but in Indonesia we have this like I think it's a Korean app. It's called Line. Like it's a chatting app, and we have like there's this feature in this app where you can just link up with people you don't know. Like there's a chat room and there's this room called Atheist Indonesia. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, that's a group where like there's 70 atheists and I'm the only theist, and that's where I get gang banged by a lot of people.
Oh,
And so
you,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
you get
and like,
ganged up on, is what I think you mean.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
the ganged up. Okay.
yeah. Uh, gangbang is not similar. It's a different. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Up on, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and then so like
just
the
got
first thing.
demonetized probably.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. I mean ganged up on. Okay, because
No,
gangbang
you're
is
fine.
it's
I know
the like
this.
the secular thing where, yeah, people in my
Y-
age, like when one person gets beaten up by like four-person. I know it's kind of like a wrong, what's called it, adverb to use, but like people say gangbang and it's like quite normal, although not, I think. And
I
that's
think that there's a bit
In Indonesia.
that something was probably lost in translation. I think.
Okay,
I mean,
so yeah.
honestly, you very much impressed me with your mastery of the English language. Took some French, but
Mhm.
I can't speak it conversationally. You're doing, I
Yeah.
think, fantastic with your
Thank
language.
you, thank you. I mean, like talking to you, this was just like so fun. I mean, yeah, you're a really nice guy. Like when I first talked to you at Twitter, I would expect you to like ridicule me or mock me, just like how most atheists in Indonesia do. But then when we first opened our call, like I saw your face and you saw mine, and you were like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is pretty nice." And
Well,
like talking to you just opens up my mind, and you gave me a really important point to just fact check everything. Yeah, and I think that's the one of the things that I learned today is a valuable thing, I guess.
yeah, it's always useful to have it. It helps you learn a lot of really neat stuff.
Hmm.
No one should ever. I don't think people should be ridiculed just because they don't know. Mockery might have some place, but in common discussion, no, mockery
Yeah.
doesn't really have a place.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's better. I much prefer these types of discussions
Yeah.
um, to talk, just messaging someone on Twitter. That's all well and good, but
Yeah.
uh, like you don't get the emotion. You can't emote on Twitter really
Yes.
like you can on
Yes. That's
on
true.
this. I also don't really do debates a whole lot. I don't really care for debates because I think debates are ways to not deal with things.
Yeah.
They're very much
I
ways to get around issues. But
I think that yeah, I agree with you fully on what you said. I think that conversations are way better than debates because at some point debates, like when people get emotional, like they really don't use rational arguments, and
right,
then they just start like mocking or using their own subjective ways of looking at the opponent's arguments, and then that's where the debate starts to get useless. Like you won't, if you win, what do you get? Like you're only gonna hurt other people's feelings, and when you lose, you don't get anything either. So I guess like yeah, I really like these kind of conversations.
yeah, yeah, they are useful. I've actually I'm going to be having a discussion with a young Earth creationist on abiogenesis in the near future, and
Wow, that's so cool.
eh, it's okay. I know who he is,
Hmm.
and we'll see. It should be all right. But
Hmm.
but at first it was going to be billed as a debate, and I didn't really want that, so I asked them if it could be a discussion, and they were fine
Yeah.
with that. So yeah, there's a guy I've talked to in the past. I'm standing for truth, and I've done discussions with him and also debates. Uh, so I think discussions are just generally better. Just the way it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But also, you're right. You have to be polite to people because what's the point of being mean?
Yeah, that's
There's no
true.
point. But
But
anyway,
yeah, I might just reconsider about the things about I might just reconsider believing about young earth creationism because the points you gave me there are quite they actually make sense. Yeah, but I'll really fact check everything and let's see where the evidence leads us. Like I think Socrates said that a true scientist goes where the evidence leads them.
Yeah. Um, in my videos in the description,
Mm-hmm.
I have lists of all of my sources or
Oh
links
yeah.
to all of my sources. So if you ever want to know where I got a piece of information, you just go to the description, find the paper I referenced, and click it.
Okay.
And then it will take you right there and you can see the information.
Yeah. Well, I
That's on
really appreciate.
all the videos I make, not the live streams really usually, but the videos I make. I always link to my sources.
Okay.
So you can fact check me right then and there.
I will. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. Well, I think it's been about an hour, so you ready to call it quits?
Yeah, this was really fun, but yeah, I really gotta go pee for like I've been holding it for like half an hour, I guess.
Understandable. Yeah, that was yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
drank a lot.
thank you for coming on. Thank you everybody for
Thank you.
watching, and we're gonna stop the broadcast. So bye everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.